All right, welcome back. We are into picks and bans once again. Second time is the charm, apparently, and hopefully that's the way it's going to work out. It's MCS Week 4, day number 3. It's the last day of the week for us here, and we're starting things off with Denial Esports taking on not Curse Academy, it's Complexity Academy. Too many academies here. I am Rapid. With me is Azaraki, and joining us is our special guest, the jungler for Cloud9. It is Meteos. What's up?
Not much.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get things done with picks and bans. You said that you used to scrim, or you've played against some of these players in just some scrims before, but not recently, and especially here in MCS, we've gotten the chance to see these guys play a ton, and it's been interesting to see. I don't know, maybe some superstars emerge, and maybe some future LCS Cloud9 competition. We'll see about that, but. As far as players are concerned, I mean, you're up there in very high elo solo queues. So I guess you've played against most of these guys before.
Yeah, I've seen Glebe Glaru a lot, and I've actually seen Billy Boss a lot. I used to play normals with them back in the day, like probably a year ago, and I always thought he was a good player. So it's pretty cool to see him in the competitive scene now.
Yeah, he's kind of the MCS esports. Well, I don't want to call him the term that he uses, but he goes around between all the teams subbing for well, basically everyone. So it's nice to see him on one team or another. And we already have picks and bans underway. I'm not sure what our bans are because we had Nidalee banned out at the first. Actually not banning that out anymore. And that is actually a reaction to Inox not being on Denial tonight. He was unfortunately having some connection issues, so he's been replaced by Zibum, which is actually Aframu. So Aframu will be playing top lane for Denial tonight. So we'll have to see how that works out.
Yeah, and of course, there is no Inox, so that big Nidalee threat is no longer there. But it looks like we will see Denial pick up the Elise as a first pick, which is still a very strong pick. And even though during the patch 3.10, which is the really most recent patch, she's still a very good champion. They didn't really change too much. They made it so that you can no longer repel outside of the range of the circle, which always struck me as a little bit odd in the first place. But on top of that, we also saw a little bit of nerfs to their spiderlings, making it so that they weren't as tanky. And the biggest reason for that was because they were just body blocking way too much. They were just too much of an annoyance to deal with for a lot of skill shot based champions. So that was changed as well. But for the most part, she still retains her core kit. She still retains the fact that she has percent damage and percent of missing health damage. So that really helps her with her strong kit, and she also has the cocoon, which can stun people pretty easily. So still a very strong champion and still deserving of the first pick.
Yeah, now Meteos, have you gotten a chance to play Elise yet after the nerfs, now that the new patch has come out?
Yeah, I was playing her in solo queue a little bit today. She feels pretty similar. The only real difference is the repel.
You can't repel the people who are like 5 feet outside your circle anymore.
Yeah, before you could sort of use like an alpha strike and repel on someone who's about to gap close away and you chase them, but now you just drop down way away from them. So it's not as good, but she's still pretty good overall.
All right, so it's nice to see that they haven't completely killed her off, and I know Master Yi got quite a substantial rework. I was watching some of the patch notes and the analysis of the patch notes, and have been playing some solo queue today, and yeah, Master Yis are all over the place, but probably won't see those here tonight. I don't think they changed him to be into being a viable champion just yet. It does look like, as far as picks are concerned, we're going to have the last couple picks here for Denial locked in. We are going to see Aatrox down there, so apparently Aframu's pocket top lane champion will be finally revealed, unless that's a placeholder for something. But I don't actually think so. We are going to have Zyra locked in. If you guys have ever played or watched Nubby Pooh Bear play, he's a pretty amazing Zyra. And that does mean that we would probably see the Fiddlesticks as support, and then the Elise in the jungle. But, I mean, we could always change things up. This could be the unveiling of Scuba Chris's Aatrox jungle. I'm not sure about that. Have you ever done Aatrox jungle, Meteos?
I have not played it seriously. I've done it a little bit in solo queue, but I've played kind of everything in solo queue. So I don't know. I saw it was ran in the European LCS, so it might be good, but I haven't really tried it too much.
All right, well, I don't know if we're necessarily going to be bringing that out tonight at MCS, at least not in the jungle. Might actually see that top lane, and I mean, it's locked in, and if you kind of try to organize all the champions, you can see that it's probably going to be up there. A little bit more versatility, though, from the Complexity Academy roster. They going for a lot of engaged. They have a lot of lockdown, a lot of CC, and sort of the we're going to blow everything in front of this Vayne, and you're not going to be moving a whole lot, so that should work pretty well.
So far, it looks like we have Complexity Academy going for a very team fight heavy oriented comp. We have champions like Lissandra, Cannon, Jarvan, and even Thresh. They're all extremely great team fighters with great AoE spells. But on top of that, we also have Vayne, and that's what we keep saying, one of the highest damage AD carries in the entire game right now. So that's really something that plays well to her kit and also plays well to this big CC comp that they have, where if we have a Lissandra stun, Cannon stun, knockups from Jarvan, Jarvan's Cataclysm, as well as the loads of CC that Thresh can put out, she's going to have free reign to basically land Silverbolt procs on whoever she can, and that'll tear down whichever team comp that Denial try to go with. Whereas Denial, they're not so much for the big AoE, because I'm seeing champions like Aatrox, who isn't one of those champions you think of when you think of, you know, big AoE stack teamfight comps. And the only 2 or 3 that I really see that go along with that are Fiddlesticks, Twitch, and Zyra, where Zyra's Stranglethorns can keep people in a certain area and keep people inside of the Crowstorm from Fiddlesticks. And we also have Twitch's ultimate, which allows him to proc his auto attacks on multiple people in a line. So they've got a fairly strong team right there, but it's much differently focused. They're more focused on these sort of, I want to say small skirmishes, because they have champions like Aatrox and Elise, but they will also be fairly strong coming in the team fights, especially if we can see some Fiddlesticks ultimates go uncontested.
Yeah, so I mean, Meteos, when you look at these team compositions, I mean, I'm not sure we've seen exactly, particularly these team comps being played in LCS anytime soon, but is there anything you're noticing, anything that sort of stands out to you between these two teams?
I haven't really seen the champions played on the blue team that much. It's kind of a weird team comp. I don't really know what they're going for. The purple side looks a lot more like a normal team comp. They've got really good engage with Kennen, Lissandra, Jarvan, Thresh. Pretty much anyone can engage on their team. And they have a lot of protection for Vayne, so I kind of like the purple side team comp better.
Yeah, and actually, Xanos has been asking for an opportunity to play Vayne, but it's either been picked or banned against them, as they have actually been on purple side, I think a couple of the last times they've played, so we'll have to see if that changes as we get into the game. So we are actually going to go to a quick commercial break, but don't go anywhere, because when we come back, it's going to be Denial Esports taking on Complexity Academy in Week 4, day number 3, of the Mobafire Challenger Series. Do want to make sure to mention and support our sponsors, iBuyPower, Vitality Gaming Gear, Razer Academy, and stick around and chat and subscribe, because later on during the broadcast, we'll be giving away a Razer Black Widow as well as a Vitality Gaming Gear headset. So we'll get those taken care of later on. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, and welcome back, everybody, to the Mobafire Challenger Series. I am Rapid. With me is Azaraki Dragon, and our special guest joining us tonight will be Cloud9's Meteos. We're about to get into the first game of the night. It's going to be Denial Esports in the blue, taking on Complexity Academy in the red. We're just going to finish loading everything up here, and then we should be good to go. Like I said, first game of the night, and should actually be pretty interesting. We were talking about team comps earlier on, and it's going to be kind of interesting to see the little bit of the ragtag group after Moose subbing in for Denial. So we'll see how that all works out, and what better way to start things off than with a pause. Because, yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I can count how many games we've seen in the MCS start with a pause. It's certainly far too many to count, and well, at least it's not happening during a team fight yet, so we have that going for us. And taking a look at some of the starting builds, we have Doran's items all around except for Fiddlesticks. Looks like Glebe Glarbu is not going to be starting with Doran's Blades, so Team Denial looks like they are ready to, start getting a little bit more pressure in that lane, which is part of what Doran's items are for, where if you go with the Doran's items, you're not going to have as much sustain as you would, say, if you are an AD carry and you go with Longsword 2 potions, you're not going to have that much sustain, but you will get that little health bonus from that as well. And in terms of mid lane, I actually like the changes to Doran's Ring to allow you to buy potions as well as Doran's Ring, because Doran's Ring in itself has no sustain, whereas a Doran's Blade, you get that 5 extra health from auto attacks.
Yeah.
So that.
Well, the big deal is going to be that Doran's Blade jungle from Scuba Chris. Have you ever done Doran's Blade jungle on Elise Meteos?
I've never actually done Doran's Blade. I've seen it a lot before, and it's okay. But the only issue with it is that Doran's Blade doesn't actually help Elise that much because you don't really use the attack damage from it at all. So it delays your build a little bit. So if he can get something to happen right at level 3 or 4 before his first back, it'll be worth it. But if not, then he sort of set himself behind 475.
Yeah, that actually could have hurt himself a little bit more because, I mean, it's not like the ADs, you're not going to be auto-attacking a lot at least not in human form. I mean, the Skittering Frenzy is cool because it's going to heal you, and then you also get the bonus HP from that, the +5 on Doran's Blade. But yeah, that's mostly just going to be for like some sustain in the jungle to get himself up with that on-hit life gain. I mean, it's cool when you go in for the ganks early on because you're going to be auto-tagging at least a couple times. But really most of your damage comes from magic, so it's going to be a little bit of a sort of a stronger start item-wise. You're going to get HP that you wouldn't get from starting with that Hunter's Machete. You're also going to get a few extra ancillary stats like some sustain and attack damage, which won't matter really as much as the game goes on, but like you said, is going to set her a little bit further behind from getting her Spirit Stone, getting her boots, getting those big buys on her first trip back to base. Looking to get Billy Boss back in here. He's just logged back online, so that's actually pretty cool, and we do actually have our map blocker up, so that won't be necessary. But other than that, I mean, very fast buys coming out from the guys on Denial. I'm kind of impressed that within the first 6 seconds, they bought all of their items and are moving out of the base, especially Glebe Glarbu. You got to give a shout out to support players who are able to buy like 8 different items all in like 6 seconds and also start moving out of the base.
Yeah, buying fast is kind of an overlooked thing because you can see now that all of Denial Esports has bought their items and they're moving off their fountain, and only one person on Complexity Academy has bought their items, so they'll be a lot slower. And if Denial does try to rush somewhere, they'll get there faster, so they get a little bit of an advantage from that.
Something we've been seeing out of a few teams in LCS or MCS is that they'll go for a ward, especially if they're blue side. They'll run all the way up through the jungle and they'll put a ward like by the double golems, almost in between the first and second turrets in the top lane, just to kind of get a scout out and see if who's going what lane, and also throw one down at the red buff while they're at there. So we actually could see a very aggressive engage. We are gonna have everybody back in the game, so we should be able to get everybody back in and unpause here in a second. Apparently we're like, okay, all right, just looking to get everybody back in the game, and by everybody I mean Billy Boss. Game is unpaused. We'll resume at 5 4 3 2 1. You want to make sure to jump back to live once we get in there because spectator mode's pretty awesome, and items being bought out there. Billy Boss finally reconnecting, sweet, and should be underway with our first game of the night.
All right, so it is pretty interesting that we saw Scuba Chris start with that Doran's Blade, but at the same time, it might be something to do with a little bit of level 1 action that they plan to force. It will give her a little bit of extra health as well as attack damage, where auto attacks are really one of the main focuses of level 1 engages, because outside of one ability, that's all you can really do to do damage, and so far we see Volatile Spiderling is the ability she decided to take right there. So that's going to allow her for a little bit of poke in the early game before they actually start with the full-on 1v1 engage. Now, at the same time, if she does take too much damage from that, not going to have any potions since there was no Hunter's Machete start. So Scuba Chris is going to have to be really careful when fighting this level 1 when trying to poke out, because if he takes too much poke, then he's really just going to be forced to go back and heal up before he can take his own jungle.
All right, now we're probably going to see a red ward. There we go. Gleam Glarb is going to drop that one down from over top around double golems. It's actually kind of a difficult ward if you guys are new for support, but I think Zekant has a warding guide out about that. But either way, it's going to be ward down there at the red buff. Scout out by Billy Boss. Actually did not see a whole lot. The initial invades not really going to go down. I mean, there's Aphromoo up there in the top Tribrush. He's going to be checking things out, and overall pretty passive start. You think I guess I should probably ask you, Meteos, do you think there's any advantages? I mean, there's 2 wards out there in the bottom jungle. Is there anything you think these teams are going to look for level 1?
I'm not sure anything's going to happen level 1. I would say that Denial got the better wards because they got wards in the other team's jungle, and Complexity Academy's wards are all very defensive. They were pretty scared level 1 to go in. So Denial probably...
oh no, Flappy Bearfish took red buff accidentally with poison. So, I mean, red buff Twitch is hella scary and everything, but there's no red buff on Scuba Chris, and he's still level 1. So that's really going to be a little bit of a rough start for him. They do scout out the blue buff, has been taken away there. Doom Trobo through the jungle, and now we're pinging up to that top red buff. There's a ward there for Denial, but yeah, Scuba Chris is forced to lane here with W Pooh Bear just to hit level 2, because there we go, stole enough XP. He did give away that red buff level 1, so I'm not sure if that was planned. Probably not. Have you ever done that in Meteos where you like give a buff away and then just kind of steal lane XP, or is that...
Oh, but in the mid lane, we have a little bit of an engagement. Both ignites popped out. Nubby Pooh Bear taken down extremely low. One last auto attack's not going to be enough, but he's going to throw one back in for first blood. Battle of shurikens versus plants right there, and Billy Boss picks it up.
That was the dumbest 1v1. They're just like auto-attacking one another, and I'm guessing Nubby Pooh Bear didn't quite know what to expect. Doom Trobo, though, going in onto Scuba Chris. Death Sentence does land. Will that be after the end to flash out the exhaust as well? One more auto attack, picks up the kill, and yeah, Scuba Chris not having a good day in the jungle, gets his buff stolen away by, I guess, both the enemy jungler and his own bottom lane. So, rough day for Scuba Chris. But I guess, Meteos, you've had several games where you've been really heavily counter-jungled, and I guess it doesn't get a lot heavier than this. Scuba Chris having died so early on, no double buffs, a Doran's Blade Star. What do you do if you're in his position?
Oh, I don't even know. That's really bad. He's already behind from the Doran's Blade, and now he has no buffs, and he got his Wolf's counter jungled too. So he's just gonna probably have to farm really slowly and try to get back into it.
And he's gonna go back to his blue buff and be able to take down the 2 mini lizards. Now this is patch 3.10, so they did actually give a little bit more XP over to those little lizards. And I guess, you know, Scuba Chris is gonna need every bit of XP that he can find, because his jungle does not have a whole lot of those left in it. He's gonna hold top lane as Aphromoo goes back to base. In that 1v2, he is still level 3, but he's actually out leveling Dragon Rouge right now. So he's actually saying, you know, can you actually, let's kill a cast in the bottom lane, saying, hey, you need to push up. I need some CS, because this bottom lane is frozen pretty hard with that red buff. The fear goes down as well. Give me a flash. The flag of drag comes out from Doom Trouble. Flappy Bearfish gets the kill on a Kilikastu. Kind of stood there and took it. That was a little bit rough, but with those stacks of Deadly Venom, able to make them extra deadly, picking up the first kill of the game for Denial. And I guess putting that red buff to use, if you can call it that, as is Scuba Chris top lane with Z-Bum. That's actually Aphromoo, and be able to pick up some extra experience. And I guess this is kind of the best response you can hope for as a least jungle when you get that, when you have that rough a start. You just go to a lane, soak up some XP, and looks like Aphromoo actually going in, trying to get the autos down. Slows come out. There is the repel to get on to Xanos. They've taking a lot of damage. Barrier comes out. Xanos will be able to get away. Flashes the cocoon. That was a little bit interesting, but overall the aggression goes down, forces summoners out. But now Aphromoo just came back to the lane and is already down to like 200 HP, so going to be a little bit rough to stay up there.
I want to go back to that one gank down in the bottom lane from Doob Trovo. Unfortunately, the bad decision there was not peeling for Lissandra, but in the top lane we have another engagement.
Yeah, they're going back in on a Dragon Rouge. They get the knockup, they get the Cocoon, the damage down, the flash out, but it killed at the end of that. Not quite worth it. The aggression, the duo lane here, kind of interesting. You can see Vayne actually left to go heal up a little bit, but came back as soon as Thresh, kind of died there. And an excellent job by Denial to kind of capitalize on that vulnerability in the lane.
Yeah, and right now, I do like how Complexity Academy, what they've done is, in their early invades, they made sure they warded it out as well to make sure they can keep pressure onto Scuba Chris, because if you basically just say, all right, we got those couple of early kills, we got the early jungle pressure, let's just back off from that point, then that's not really forcing your lead in any way. You're basically just letting Scuba Chris get back into the game, but we saw a lot of forward wards. We actually saw a vision ward over on the blue side of Denial Esports jungle, so that is something that tells me, all right, we want to keep this lead, and that's really what you have to do when you place someone in the jungle that far behind. Because there is always a way for them to get back into the game, and at this point Scuba Chris, like you said, he's forced to go to the top lane to soak up some of that experience. At the same time, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that might actually be the best choice that he has right now. His own jungle is a little bit scary. They don't really have too many wards in there, and they know that the enemy has warded their own jungle, so he's really almost out of options, to be honest.
Okay, so I noticed Scuba Chris went back and he picked up a Crystalline Flask and Boots. Do you think that's a right response, Meteos, or do you think that's really just going to send him further behind the middle lane and delay that as Billy Boss going on to W4D3, hits the stuns, lands his own ult for the double stun, flashes the Grasping Roots, but will it be enough? One more auto attack and he gets it off for the kill, and that will be another 1v1. This time it's a little bit more even.
Wow.
And those auto attacks.
Yeah, I don't know how many times they're just gonna like stand there and auto attack one another. They also like both flashed but didn't dodge any skills. The initiation top lane, once again, tons of damage down onto Dragon Rouge. The damage coming out from Scuba Chris can't quite get in on there. The burst is down and still a lot of pressure, a lot of aggression there in that duo lane, which is kind of evolved after having a really rough start. So I guess I'll go ahead and re-extend that question back over to you, Meteos. What's up with this Elise itemization?
Well, it's actually not bad. It will delay his Ancient Golem a lot, actually, but it's fine because I guess on 3.10, I haven't played on it too much because LCS this week is on 3.9, so it's practicing on that. But the towers do have a ton more armor in the beginning of the game, so defending in 2v1s is really the only option you have. And so I guess Elise figured that he's not really going to be farming the jungle at all, so Machete won't help him in any way. So the Doran's Blade and Flask is actually pretty good for this 2v2, and it should help him a lot.
It did give him pressure in that lane, and we did see him pick up another kill. Actually, he got the assist. Kill went over to Aphromoo as they did take out Thresh. Bottom lane, though, the ultimate coming in. Glebe Larbo getting in there. The ultimate down from Flabby Bearfish. Flashes out of the Cataclysm. Hits the Sponge, picks up a kill, and now Jarvan Dead can't turn off his Cataclysm, and it actually traps Lissandra in there. Killicast not too happy about that. Gonna go in there. Meanwhile, in the top lane, we did see a nice little steal there on the red buff. Denial going for a very aggressive invade. I mean, when you see the jungler bottom, you just walk into his jungle and, hey, red buff up. I guess it's probably a question for Meteos. After this gate goes down, Cocoon lands onto Xanos. The knockup actually onto Dragon Rouge. Takes the damage. The Usher auto attack to flash in. One more auto, but he's not gonna get it off. The last turret shot pops his passive, but it's Scuba Chris underneath the turret, trying to go in there, throws down the repel, drops the turret aggro, and it's W4D3 up the top lane. The turret tanked up by Zyra there, as Scuba Chris walks out from under turret. That's a pretty well coordinated dive, and a nice red seal off the back of that, and we do actually see continual aggression. Billy Boss walking up here, looks for the ultimate, has the... Gets slowed out there and snared, so could have actually thrown down Lightning Rush. Won't be going in there just yet, but there we go. A lot of aggression, and still the advantages continue to pile in for Denial. I guess I should probably turn that question over to Meteos. That gank bottom lane really didn't work out, and really snowballing that even more. As a jungler, when you gank one side of the map, is that do you like not do that if your buff is up and you want to defend it? Because we saw that very easily counter jungled.
Yeah, I think he wanted to go bot to hold the tower, which is fine. Giving up the red buff's alright. Generally, their top lane should have been able to stop that, though, but I guess they are pressured too hard. So sometimes you have to give stuff up. There's no way you can defend it. But the fact that they went bot and died, and then it kind of snowballed into a lot of other mistakes. Aatrox and Elise are very good at tower diving, so they had Zyra come up top and they dove it really well. But then Kennen made a huge mistake and he tried following top when he could have probably gotten either a lot of damage on the tower or killed the tower. So it was just really good for Denial in almost every way. They got a lot of stuff for free and lost almost nothing in return.
Yeah, they
I think
did.
another.
Oh, go ahead. I was just gonna say they did lose that top turret, but they countered with the dragon, so that's a little bit more stats or golden experience for them overall, and not a lot of damage on the top turret because the wave is gonna come and save that. And once again, ooh, we're actually gonna see the death sentence to jump out. The dark flight, not dark enough, as ultimate immediately going down there, and a nice death sentence by Dragon Rouge. Pretty much just picks up Afremu as soon as he walks in the lane, and now it's actually Glebe Glarbu who's in a little bit of trouble, though I don't know. We're just seeing Nubby Poopé there for the assist. Glebe Glarbu standing on top of the lantern, so Doom Turbo can't catch it, but another death sentence thrown down. The knock up the damage, the flash over the wall from Doom Turbo gets snared up on the other side. Glebe Glarbu trying to zone people away. The repel not outside that circle range, so Scuba Chris able to get in there for a kill, and this is a really weird start to the game because not only was Scuba Chris basically never in the jungle, but he's also 3-1 now off of going for a dual lane top, so I don't know if that's new meta and we're not going to see junglers anymore, but it's definitely working out for Scuba Chris.
I think another big part of how this game is going is the combination of Fiddlesticks and Twitch, and I don't think a lot of people actually expect the amount of damage that it can really put out. If Fiddlesticks lands a good fear, then that's a good 1 or 2 seconds. Let's actually see what he's deciding to max. Yeah, he's maxing his Terrify, he's maxing the Q, so that's going to be very long. Right now it's 2.5 seconds. So that basically tells me that he wants to go in there, fear someone, and allow Flappy Bearfish to get down as many poison procs as possible. And once he hits Expunge, there's a ton of damage that a lot of people aren't quite expecting. And when we have people like Doom Trobo and Killicast trying to 2v2 those guys, well, Killicast on Lissandra has a great kit for bursting, but against 2 people, there's not too much she can do unless she actually ends up bursting down one of them really quickly. So that's part of where the big discrepancy came from down in the bot lane, where Twitch could easily throw out his bomb, land a couple poison procs, use his ultimate, land a few more, and use Expunge to hit both of them at the same time, where Doom Trobo, he's a tank, he's playing Jarvan, he doesn't have too much damage there, and Killicast can only really target one person if the bot lane from Denial play that well. And on top of that, they're already feared from Fiddlesticks and silenced as well, so I think part of that is just underestimating the power of Fiddlesticks' Twitch bot lane.
Yeah, that's really, really rough to play against as a support. And interesting, though, to see Elise, after grabbing have a really rough start in the jungle, goes for the Spirit Stone, but with an amplifying tome after that. Looks like she will be going for the Spirit of the Spectral Wraith. Is there a situational decision that you make, Meteos, over which to go? Do you go to Spectral Wraith or as Ancient Golem? Is there like something that maybe told him to go Spectral Wraith in this decision?
I'm not sure I agree with that. Generally, you want to go Spectral Wraith. It's kind of a solo queue thing. I do it in solo queue a lot. It's really snowbally because if you're behind and you don't have any health, you're just going to die when you jump in. But I guess he feels that with Aatrox, he has enough of a front line so that he can go damage. But I'm not sure how well it's going to work out for them because they don't have much of a front line if they're both going Glass Cannon build.
Yeah, and against a huge engage composition like Complexity Academy, if they all jump on you, it doesn't matter how far ahead you are if you've turned that all into damage items, if you just kind of blow up to mass CCs. Yeah. So, especially with Doom Trobo jumping in, he's going to create the perfect engage. There's exactly what I was talking about. Well played. Doom Trobo, though, getting caught out there, not taking enough. The engage by Billy Boss gets exhausted as soon as he goes in, so not a lot of damage, but Flappy Bearfish just blowing up the entire team as they don't have any engage left. That's a pretty nice way to play AD carry. It's kind of like cleanup duty. Billy Boss tries to use that around the edge. It's actually Afremu coming in from the top, able to pick up 1 kill. Dragon Rouge under ignite, but the last wall there gonna get that 99% slow onto Afremu. Won't quite be able to pick that up, but now it's Zanos getting in there, gonna hit the impale. Not gets the stun, but that's gonna be the rest of the team coming over there to try to save away Afremu. Dark Flight is used, costs some HP, but it's gonna get him out alive, and that's gonna be the first middle turret of the game. Going to Denial Esports.
I absolutely love Flappy Bearfish's sort of decision-making and positioning in that fight because he knew, alright, well, Complexity Academy, they're going for a huge AoE teamfight comp. As long as I don't stand right next to the rest of my team and they don't see me, then I can come in after those initial ults that have been used and just clean up the fight, and that's exactly what he did. So that's great positioning by him, and by that time, Billy Boss, his ultimate already ran out, and you know, Flappy Bearfish, he was able to put down so much damage on Doom Tropo and Killicast that they couldn't then turn on him and initiate on him themselves because he's just doing so much damage, especially with the Blade of the Ruined King.
Now the counter turret taken there by Complexity Academy. Flappy Bearfish taking a lot of damage as he tried to defend. We'll go ahead and stealth on out of there. Managed to escape through the entire engaged combo that a Complexity could throw at him. So, I don't know. They kind of blew everything they had on exactly who they were supposed to blow it on, and it didn't actually wind up killing him. So, that means that their composition a little bit farther behind. We're gonna have Cocoon landing on the Doom Tropo, who's going for that blue the blue steel. Tried to get the standard Dragon Strike combo to get out of there alive, but couldn't quite make it happen. Fear does not go down onto Xanos. He's going to be able to take the Thresh Express, get out of there alive. A little bit of crows there to slow their escape, but won't really have all that big an effect. Aframu going in, man. This guy does not have a back out, but continuing the aggression. But overall, that will set Denial up 11-4 in kills. Whew, that was a lot of action going down. Ultimately, a little bit of a failed invade there. Doom Turbo not quite able to get the steal off there. Was there something in that engagement, and I guess even in the team fight before that you noticed, Meteos?
In the team fight before, I actually saw that Lissandra died without ulting, which was kind of weird. And then in that engage, I don't know. It should have worked, but I guess the biggest issue was no one except the support had a pink ward, and they tried initiating on Twitch. And if they knew they were going to plan that coming from base, someone should have probably picked up a pink ward, because then they would have definitely got the kill. And possibly would have been able to get the second tier tower. So it was just a little bit of bad preparation, I guess.
Yeah, and when you look at the pink ward coverage, it's actually been all Denial this game. You can see 2 pink wards for them right now, and literally no wards on the map unless you count those 2 around the middle lane, but neither one of them give vision, so not really going to help out with killing Twitch. So, I mean, pretty much all the jungle, I mean, there's one at their Wraith Bush, but other than that, there's a lot of room to move around if you're Denial, and having that map control, having that pressure, just, you know, the fact that you could be a whole lot of places right now, it's going to kind of limit the options here for Complexity Academy.
And one thing, actually, Meteos brought up the fact that Lissandra, you know, she died before using her ultimate, and obviously using her ultimate would have saved her in one of those engagements, but at the same time, she's up against a team that's got quite heavy AD. We have Aatrox and Twitch, both doing a ton of AD damage. Oh, it's Stranglethorn's actually just completely missing right there. It looks like we just had a disengage from both sides. But I want to go back to that build where she rushed a needlessly large rod and doesn't actually have a Seeker's arm guard for any armor or any resistances at all. It's just pure glass cannon, sitting at about 1400 health and hardly any resistances.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting. Top lane, though, the damage... The NASCAR gang. WP just kind of walking around in circles, comes back for round number 2, able to get the kill off there, and with that Aatrox ultimate, gonna be able to take down that top turret extremely quickly. With the armor changes to turrets, they have more early on, but they don't actually have any more after like 8 minutes into the game. It's just to stop those early pushes, and so it didn't make it any more difficult for the 3rd turret and last outer turret actually get taken out there. It's actually Flappy Bearfish bottom lane gonna steal away the blue buff, and yeah, the jungle control actually kind of lax after a very strong jungle phase for Doom Trobo. Not actually maintaining that, having pretty much all of his buffs stolen away at one point or another, so it's gonna be a little bit rough for him. Now kind of switching things over onto the other foot. Doom Trobo a little bit farther behind, has some decent itemization for this point in the game, but in his buffs stolen away, his jungle completely invaded Dragon Rouge, making a little bit of damage for himself, but ultimately not a whole lot coming off of that. Not a whole lot of places safe, and I guess not just as a jungler, but as a team. What do you do when you don't have jungle control when, I mean, just look at this bottom jungle, there's no fog of war. Glebe Glover actually ulting over the wall onto Dragon, who's trying to get the fear off. He's trying to go for this 1v1 support, but we'll have to back on out of there. The expunge, not enough to pick up the kill. Now, Flappy's actually going to get engaged on. He's trying to get in there, but Barrier comes out as well. Lissandra, he's trying to get out of there, but won't be able to stealth. The further engagement just chaining off one by one. Denial's kind of walking in their single file. It's going to be enough, but Xanos the one to go down their top lane, getting 1v1 by Scuba Chris and Afromu. They're going to take him out. The action all over the map, but ultimately a 2-for-1 exchange in favor of Denial once again. So making it happen. Now we're going to push down the secondary top lane turret. Nobody really there to defend them, and this should actually be pretty free. So I guess I'm going to re-extend that question over to Meteos. It's like, what do you do when you have no control over the jungle? Now Doom Trobo going to take a little bit of damage from Glebe Glarbu, but there's not really anywhere that Call Academy can go.
Yeah, they're getting pretty starved at this point. Denial definitely has control over the map right now. and they're doing a good job with that. They're pressuring a lot of different spots, so even though they somewhat lost the fight down bot, they were able to kill Vayne and get a top tier tower while that was going on, so they came out ahead overall. And as Complexity Academy, there's not really a straight up way to win at this point. You kind of have to rely on the winning team to make a mistake, but there are things you can do, like you can try to catch people out when they're warding, and they just sort of have to turtle out and see if they can get a really fed Vayne to try to carry the game, but it's not looking too good for them.
Yeah, it's definitely looking a little bit rough. 20-minute mark down. Killicast gonna go in onto Scuba Chris, throws down some damage, but the cocoon and the retaliation. Flappy Bearfish right there for the follow-up. Damage goes down, and that will leave Scuba Chris with the kill. Now it's Doom Trouble walking around the corner, taking some damage from Flappy Bearfish, but will be able to stay alive. They feel pretty tanky, so he's gonna be doing a really good job at that. He's gonna look for the new Locket of the Iron Solari, and well, Aegis into Locket of the Iron Solari, but they aren't quite the same items that you guys know and love. They've been changed around a little bit for this patch, and I guess I should re-extend this question back over to Meteos. But like, how do you feel about that as a jungler? I mean, it saves you an item slot, but it's a little bit weaker as as far as having them both individually. How do you feel about that change?
My first impressions, because that's all I've had. I played a few solo games today, and it seems worse to me because you lose a ton of stats. Right now, you're getting like 20 armor, 20 MR, and 200 health, and before you got way more health, way more armor, way more MR from the Aegis item, so it makes you kind of weaker. And I've actually been experimenting with builds just not getting it because it's a lot weaker for the jungler than before, so you're definitely not going to be as tanky mid-game with that.
Yeah, I was actually listening to like St. Vicious's analysis of the post, and he actually said that just aura items, they're really efficient overall, and that may make some people still buy that. But if you don't buy that itemization, what else do you get in its place?
That's what I'm trying to figure out, actually. I was playing some solo queue today, working on it, and they have added a lot. So what I was thinking so far is it just sort of gives you more options for what you want to do. Before, it was the NLBL build was Ancient Golem into Bulwark with Ninja Tabby in there somewhere. And now I think it'll be more situational because Aegis only gives some MR aura. So if you're against an AD heavy team, you might not even need that early. And you can do a lot more different things. You can either go with Glacial Shroud, you can get the new Spectre Cowl. What is it? Spectre's Cowl?
Yeah, Spectral Cowl, I think it is. And yeah, that actually builds into some really interesting itemization. It gives you a hella sustain. It gives you a lot of regen, some situationally, some just over time. And it's really interesting with the new Spirit Visage because it not only gives you 20 passive health regen per 5, but it also increases that by a further 20% because of the item passive. So it actually kind of stacks on itself for some crazy regen. So if you're up against like a really strong poke composition, that'd be really good, especially if it was like, Nidalee Spears or something along those lines. But looks like Xanos gonna get a red buff. So I mean, you're talking about getting that fed Vayne. It's gonna help her out a little bit. She actually picked up an Aberrus Blade, so I mean, she's gonna get gold per 10 from that and extra gold per creep kill. But I mean, building that into a static ship, not gonna be the worst idea for it, but still maybe a little bit of a mark of desperation, as Phantom Dancer having that zeal would definitely be the preferred itemization there, but kind of a reaction to being a little bit behind 1 and 2 versus that stuff. Flappy Bearfish, Twitch, Infinity Edge, and that Blade of the Ruined King, 200 CS as well. Definitely going to be dishing out a little bit more damage. We're starting to see a 2-man Baron attempt. Scuba Chris and Lebby Pooh Bear supplying the plants for damage. Leap Larbu zoning things out from behind them at the standard into the pit from Doom Trobo. There may be some sneaky strategies going down. He's going to go in for the dunk. Gets the damage down, but the Repel going to keep at least alive for a little bit longer. They blow apart the jungler. Killicast coming in. Going to be the one for the kill, but Xanos over off the side. Leap Larbu the one to get locked down, but it's still Sandra to get taken out there at the end. Xanos still pretty protected. Doom Trobo there as well, but they cannot kill Flappy Bearfish. He's dealing way too much damage. Billy Boss in from the back. He's going to take down Lebby Pooh Bear. Once again, the battle of the auto attacks. These guys have been doing that quite a lot. The Ignite will pick up the posthumous kill on to Lebby Pooh Bear, but overall, that is going to be a 5 for 3. An ace coming out for Denial Esports.
Yeah, that fight really went in the favor of Denial for sure. I mean, that once again, Flappy Bearfish was really able to just go wherever he wanted during the fight, and no one was really there to contest him. He was doing a great job of balancing bushes and his stealth. Whenever he wasn't in a bush, he tried to be in stealth to make sure that no one could target him, and once he saw a great opportunity to start auto-attacking, he did just exactly that. So great positioning on his part once again, and great on the rest of his team for fighting that big AoE team fight and spreading out enough so that the big AoE abilities of Complexity Academy didn't really matter all that much. Billy Boss, he was only able to use his ultimate on Nubby Pooh Bear, and Flappy Bearfish was sitting in the brush the entire time. Billy Boss didn't even know he was there. So really great job on Denial's part in that team fight, and they were able to take that for their team.
Yeah, did you notice anything really impressive about that team fight? I mean, Denial, they had a little bit of a rough start to it, but wound up really taking charge of it as soon as Flappy Bearfish showed up. Was there anything you saw about that, Meteos?
There's nothing too interesting about that fight. It was kind of expected. I think Elise got a little bit low because he doesn't have much armor, and tanking Baron with only 20 armor and items is really rough. So he got really low. I think Doom Trouble might have went in a little bit early. The Baron still had a few thousand health, but I guess he panicked because he didn't know when his flag was going to run out, so he had to go in at some point. And it was okay for Complexity Academy. They got some kills, which is kind of hard to do when you're behind. But
Yeah.
I think it's still better for Denial because Twitch had really good positioning. He was just able to come in and clean up, and now he has almost a full Phantom Dancer. He's basically a whole item up on Vayne at this point, and
oh,
a
wow.
few levels too. So that Twitch is going to be really strong. And with the, I guess, Aegis Aura, it's in a primarily magic damage team from Complexity Academy. It's going to be really hard for them to kill that Twitch.
They're actually kind of waiting around the corner for the Wombo combo, but they can be seen there by the ward there. They're all going to kind of run out single file, not able to do that. And yeah, in that past engagement, it was like Elise was like, what, I don't know, 200-300 HP trying to do Baron, and yeah, a little bit vulnerable. I think it was her itemization. You talked about only giving her about 20 armor. I think it was the further itemization. Oh wow, going over the wall. Doom Trobo, somewhat unfortunate, gets the flash, but you can't get the repel down. Oh my goodness, that was just an example of why you would have been able to pick up that repel with the previous version of Elise. Can't quite make it happen now. Doom Trobo getting taken out, so with no smite pressure and pretty much a free Baron there. An engagement in the bottom lane, Billy Boss versus Aphromoo. The damage comes down, but the sustain is there. Zodiac is forced to be used there by Billy Boss, and the last auto attack is slow. He's gonna flash under turret, but getting kited by Billy Boss, throws the auto attack out. Picks up the kill onto Aphromoo. No Blood Will passive left to get the revive, and I don't know, man. A little bit dubious chasing there, but a nice battle out there by Billy Boss, kiting him, picking up the kill there for Complexity Academy.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to look over right now is that Lissandra did finish up Zonia's Hourglass, still has another needlessly large rod on top of that, but at the same time, maybe I want to see a little bit more in terms of tankiness from Lissandra. You know, there's a lot of damage over on the side of Denial Esports, and she's just getting blown up extremely quickly, barely even having time to use her Entomb in some of these fights. So I think I would like to see that a little bit more. On the side of Billy Boss, I like his build. Unfortunately, all across the board, you know, Complexity Academy, unfortunately, they're not getting as much gold as they would like, so they're all pretty far behind in their builds. But I'm just, in some of these cases, just questioning some of these builds a little bit, and looking at what map control is over around the map. Once again, we see Denial. They've gotten all these wards out on the enemy side of the jungle, and we're not seeing a single ward in their own jungle for Denial. We see one by the river, that just timed out, and it looks like there's one in Denial's jungle that just timed out. So Complexity Academy are now completely in the dark besides themselves and the minion pushes. They just placed down that ward in the mid lane, which is actually a pretty good ward, by the way. Because a lot of people don't think that warding the actual lane is a very good idea, but when you don't have minions pushing out, then it's just, you know, you don't have sight at all. So that's one of the biggest things about warding the lane right there. But there is an Oracle's on Gleebglar boost, so that's going to help their team out quite a bit.
All right, now I guess we can sort of look towards, yeah, doing a really good job starving things out. The Denial Esports, I mean, they're trying to get things, trying to just apply a ton of pressure, and this is why you'll see a lot of teams, when they get ahead, they'll just play completely on their opponent's side of the map, because you're starving them out from jungle, you're starting out from buffs, you're starting out from objectives like a Dragon and Baron. Flappy Bearfish throws down the ultimate over the wall, almost immediately blows Zanos apart. Can't hit the expunge, they're out of range, but it's still going to be outranging the turret with his auto attacks during spray and pray. So the ambush somewhat unsuccessful, but it does push the duo lane for Complexity Academy back to base. The engage though on Billy Boss, exhaust this time. There are those crits. Holy cow, there's like 700 damage crits now from Flappy Bearfish. The Shirelius threw the turret off the back of that. We're gonna see a death sentence crowd. Don't really think Dragon really wanted that to land. Bottom inhibitor will go down. This is the first inhibitor of the game going to Complexity Academy, and a little bit of an ambush effect there. Not quite coming out. Doom Trobo though, a little bit overextended. Cocoon comes out, does land box there, or the lantern, dark passageway, gonna get it back away, safety. Man, this is, I don't know, we need some in-depth analysis from Meteos, but at this point it seems like the game is starting to wind down.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really hard for Complexity Academy to turn this around, if even impossible. They would have to rely on a huge mistake from Denial to do that. And they had a little bit of an opening when Twitch tried assassinating Dane and whoever's standing next to him, I forgot. He used his ult there. And so they could have 5v5 without Twitch ult, but of course they caught Kennen bot and it didn't really matter, so.
That was a little bit rough. We're going to see the surprise party for the good game. Apparently the Jarvan ult is kind of strong against the Aatrox ult there, but 4-0 surrender vote comes out. Complexity Academy will go down 27-9 and 10-2 in turrets. The victory going to Denial Esports. So congratulations to them. They will pick up the first win of the night. But that is going to do it for our first series. Don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we're going to have the second series of the night. It's, I don't know, going to be one of the better ones. It's Gold Gaming Los Angeles taking on Reality Check Gaming. And do think that we should be able to go into that pretty soon. But going to go through some post-game analysis of that the game, trying to figure out, maybe what went wrong, where it went wrong. What do you think about that, Azraki?
Oh yeah, one thing I always like to talk about are the turning points in that match. And during this match, we saw Complexity. They got off to a really, really great start in the beginning, shutting down the jungle of Scuba Chris very early, stealing buffs, getting kills. But, very early on, I mentioned Doom Trobo. He was invading a little bit. He was putting forward wards in the enemy's jungle to make sure that they could keep that pressure on. But after that second time where they went in to try to steal the blue buff and kill Scuba Chris, the pressure sort of just stopped there, and they let Scuba Chris get back into the game. And part of that is on him as well for making a good decision to go to the top lane, because he knows, all right, well, I'm behind. They're just going to want to pressure as much as they can into our jungle. So I'm going to play safely in the top lane. And he got back into the game really well at that point, picking up multiple kills. And you even said it at some point, he ended up 3-1. So that was really where the big turning point of the game was.
All right, so I guess I'll turn things over to Meteos. What did you feel was kind of the turning point, or maybe the strengths that really helped Denial Esports kind of recover from a rough early game and turn that around?
Well, it was a 2v1, so that's actually a situation where, as the jungler, if you get screwed over really hard in your jungle, you can kind of recover by just sitting in the lane, and that's what Scuba Chris did. And I think Denial just played their 2v2 lanes a lot better than Complexity Academy did. They were able to put a lot more pressure out and basically just won their lanes, and then they were able to snowball to a game win. It's pretty straightforward game.
Yeah, all right, so pretty straightforward. That's going to do it for our